I'm Noah from American Trucks, and today we're taking a look at iBox Stage 2 Pro Truck Coilover Kit for the 2014 to 2018 Silverado 1500. These coilovers are for the Silverado owner who's looking to dial in their ride height while gaining some on and off-road suspension performance. This kit from iBox is actually a really awesome setup. It comes with front coilovers that are fully adjustable, as well as rear shocks that are compatible with various different ride heights you might have your truck's rear set to, maybe with lift blocks or something along those lines. The coilovers can raise the front of your Silverado up to 1.7 inches and lower it all the way down to 4 inches. And these can be set anywhere in between those ride heights as well, so you can really dial in your truck and get it sitting exactly how you want it. And this also opens the door for flexibility with running different tire sizes as well. You can go as small as you'd like if you're looking to lower your truck with it, but if you're raising it all the way up, the max tire size you can clear without having to break the angle grinder out is a 33-inch tire. At first glance, this suspension kit is really beefy, and you can tell every aspect of this setup was engineered to get maximum performance out of your truck. The shock bodies themselves are 2 inches wide and coated in iBox premium protective coating to combat erosion and keep that ride height adjustable. Around the shock bodies are premium powder-coated ERO off-road race springs. They offer a nice sturdy ride without compromising comfort or streetability. Then to cap everything off, we have a 6061 T6 billet aluminum shock mount that is strong but seriously lightweight, and all the aluminum on the suspension is hard anodized. And as a whole, everything should last a long while because of that durable protective finish. This coilover kit is also backed by a limited lifetime warranty, but I really doubt you'll need to use that because these kits are tested thoroughly to ensure perfect matching suspension on all 4 corners. Now on to price. This Stage 2 coilover kit comes in around $1,300. Not bad when you consider that this is a drop-in, fully adjustable coilover kit and not just a set of springs. In my opinion, these iBox set the bar for upgraded truck suspension in today's market. Moving on to installation of this coilover kit, swapping out the suspension on all 4 corners of your Silverado is a bit of an in-depth job. This is going to fall right on 2 out of 3 on the difficulty meter, especially if you don't have access to a lift and you're doing the job at home. I think it's safe to expect about a 2-hour job time to get these guys installed. Without further ado, let's get this coilover kit installed.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size air guns, a hammer, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter ratcheting wrench, 15 and 17 millimeter wrench, a 7/32 Allen key with a little bit cut off, 10, 15, 17, 21 millimeter swivel sockets, a 21 millimeter deep socket, a pry bar, and a ball joint tool. So the first thing we're going to do is take a 10 millimeter socket to remove these 2 10 millimeter bolts holding our ABS line brackets into place. And we pop that bracket out of place. We're going to throw our bolt back in so we don't lose it. We'll do the same thing on the front. Next, we can remove our sway bar end link. Now you're going to want to do this one after another on each side. That way we have it completely freed up. We can pull our sway bar up to get our end link out. So I've got a 15 millimeter socket and wrench to take this off. Next, we can come to our tie rod end. We're going to take a 21 millimeter socket to remove this nut and pop our ball joint out of the knuckle. Now you can push up a little bit on your impact gun to pop it out. And then we'll push that off to the side. Next, we can work on our upper control arm ball joint. We have an 18 millimeter nut down here that I'm going to grab an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench to remove. We don't really have enough room to get a socket in there. Now we're going to leave that nut a couple threads on, and then we can bang the knuckle with a hammer to break our ball joint free. So now I'm just going to turn the knuckle to the side to get a better angle, and we'll take a hammer and smack the knuckle here to pop that free. Now, since our foolproof method of hitting it with a hammer didn't work, we're on to the next best thing, which is our ball joint remover tool. We have the top here sitting on the top of the knuckle, the bottom is on the stud, and it'll tighten and pop that free. So I've got a 19mm wrench to tighten down this bolt. That'll put the pressure on it and pop our ball joint out. So now with our ball joint pop free, we can pull down on the upper control arm and remove that nut the rest of the way. Next, we can come to the top of our strut tower and loosen up these 3 18mm nuts. So I've got an 18mm ratcheting wrench to get these off. Now with the nuts at the top of our strut tower loosened, we can come down to the bottom and remove our 2 lower strut bolts. I've got a 17mm socket for our bolt side and a 17mm wrench for the nut side. Now for the second one, just be careful of the lower control arm coming down a little bit. Now with our lower strut bolts removed, we can go back up top and fully remove our nuts and pull our strut out. So we'll get back in there with that same 18mm ratcheting wrench to do so. Now once we have our strut removed on one side, we can hop over to the other side and do that same process. Now for this kit, we are going to need to remove our upper control arm to make way for our new one. We have 2 21mm nuts, one on each side, that we can take a 21mm socket to remove. I've got a 21mm wrench to hold the bolt that's attached to our plate on the inside. And then we can remove our nut. Pull our bolts out. And then we'll pull our upper control arm out and do the same thing on the other side. Now moving on to the rear, we just need to remove our shock. We have a 21mm bolt and nut at the bottom here and a 21mm bolt up top. So I'll grab a 21mm socket and wrench for the bottom and a 21mm socket for the top. Now I've got a pole jack here to support the weight of the axle as we remove our shock. And now we can take that 21mm socket for our top bolt. Now once we have our shock removed from one side, we can do that same thing on the other side. So now with our factory strut removed, we're ready to install our new one. I'm going to get this up into place, put one of our nuts up top to hold it in place, and then we can work on our bottom bolts. So now coming down to our lower strut mount, we can take those factory bolts and thread those through the bottom here. And then we'll get our washer and nut on top. Do the same thing for our other side. And then we'll take our 17mm socket and wrench to tighten those down. And now we'll go back up top and install our other two nuts. And now we can grab our 15mm ratcheting wrench to tighten these down. Next, we can reconnect our upper control arm to our knuckle. Now I've got a pry bar. I'm just gonna pry up on our upper control arm. You wanna make sure that this ABS wire stays in front of it. And now we can thread on our factory nut. And now we can take an 18mm ratcheting wrench to tighten that down. Now since our ball joint is spinning, I've got a 7/32 Allen wrench that we cut a little bit off that we can stick onto the bottom of the stud. Now we cut a little bit of that off because as this stud gets pulled down, it'll trap it inside of the stud and rest against the axle. So cutting that off a little bit, make sure that we're able to get it out. Next, we can reinstall our tie rod end and thread on that 21mm nut. And then we'll take our 21mm socket to tighten that down. So now at this point, you're gonna wanna catch up on the other side, and then we can install our sway bar end links together. That way we don't tighten one down, and then we won't be able to get our end link in on the other side. So now we can slide our end link into place, and thread our bolt through the bottom, and then we'll put that bushing and nut up top. Now off camera, I've installed the end link on the other side. So now we can grab a 15mm wrench and socket and tighten that down. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. And now the last thing we have to do is thread in those two bolts that hold our brake line and ABS line brackets into place. And then we'll grab our 10mm socket and tighten these down. And now we can repeat that process on the other side. So now moving on to the rear, we just need to install our new shock. We have that bolt up top that we'll thread in, and then we can come back to the bottom, thread in our bolt and nut, and then tighten everything down. So now we'll raise our shock up into our upper mount. And then slide our bolt through and get that few threads in place. Next, we can come back to our lower mount, slide that in. You might have to raise your pull jack a little bit to get that to slide through. And then we'll get our nut on the other side. And then we can grab our 21mm wrench and socket to tighten this down. And then we can go back up top and tighten down our bolt. And now once we have our shock installed on one side, we can do the same thing on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Eibach Pro Truck Coilover Kit Stage 2 for your 2014 to 2018 Silverado 1500. Thank you for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.